the fourth meeting of our class URSP 0010 for MPhil and PhD Research Engineering and Technology. Okay, so the outline, as I mentioned earlier, first it will be on data collection and how you want to present it. And then second, it will be on reporting your findings. And then the next part will be analysis and validity. So analysis and validity, as I mentioned earlier, you have to compare whatever the results that you have. For example, I just have my students finish his Viva last time. Okay, so PhD students. So one of the questions that the examiner highlighted is the comparative analysis that he did for whatever that he proposed. So please take notes on that. Comparative analysis, you have to have one benchmark or one theoretical basis that you will compare with whatever that you propose. Okay, and then another topics on analysis and validity is the performance measure. So this is very, very important also. In whatever topics that you are dealing with, so there usually have there is usually there are different ways how researcher measure the performance of whatever the research that they propose. Okay, so please make sure what are the performance measures used in your particular research. And finally, highlighted what are the significance of findings that you have based on whatever result that you get. Okay, so these are the outlines of our class today. Okay, so we start with data collection and presentation. Okay, so in terms of data, there are two types of data. One we call primary data and another one is called secondary data. What are the difference? Okay, so usually primary data collected for research. For example, you have a research topics that was proposed by your supervisor, and usually these topics are from whatever the research grant that he or she had. Okay, so based on the research grant, usually supervisors or lecturers, they have the methodology, how to do the research, how to collect how to design the research, collect the research, and then analyze. And who will be doing that research? Of course, you as his or her student. Okay, so in the proposals, there will be a research design or research methodology, and students or research assistant will collect all the data that whatever the research being done. So usually primary data collected for that particular research, and the source of data is certain because you already designed the research. Okay, how to, for example, like renewable energy. Okay, so you will design the new harvesting, renewable energy harvester, and then you want to collect the data. So this source of data is certain, and usually primary data have find solution to the problem because it start with the research problems. Okay, so it's research questions, and then the purpose of that research is to solve that problems. And data is collected on demands, therefore it is structured to the needs. Okay, because it is very structured, whatever the research is, so the data is also structured. And of course, the cost of data collection is high because it is usually based on whatever the grant is. So the grant, in order to get to make sure that the research is successful, so the researcher or the principal investigator has to employ research assistants or research student to do that, and then you have to prepare all the materials in order to do that, to do the data collection and so forth. So that's why the cost of data is high. Okay, the second part is secondary data. Usually data collected in the past. If you can see, there are a lot of free data available. For example, like the primary data, once you have it collected, and then you validate it. Sometimes the researcher would like to share the data. Okay, so this the shared data, we call it secondary data, and then data has been collected in the past, and the source of data is certain, and it support finding the solution to the problems also, and it has more relevant cost because it's already established. Sometimes some researcher uh, some researcher or institutions um, gives a fees, add fees to whatever the data that you would like to access. But sometimes it is a free access of data. Okay, for example, if you're doing modeling, the one that I'm familiar with is DAISY. Okay, I think I'm sure you're also aware that there are lots of data available out there. Okay, if you look at the source of data, okay, for primary data, survey. So usually this is for social science research, and the survey can be done through persons, telephone, or mail, and also observation based on personal observation, mechanical observation, and of course for us it will be experimental, either laboratory or field experiment. And in terms of secondary data, the source of data are library, government, for examples, like if you're doing with environmental, so you can access data from uh, Jabatan Meteorology, and then trade, professionals and business, and then maybe from private firms, advertising media, university research organization. This one also a lot of data available out there. Okay, and in terms of data, sometimes we can um, get data from websites as well. Okay, and that are the data, source of data. So whatever the one that you're dealing with, so you know which type of data that you use. So make sure that your data has been validated, or data is properly what you call it, the data is cited. Okay, so if you take the data from agencies or websites or any databases, make sure that you cite the source of data. Okay, now you have the data, so use that data in whatever research, whatever purpose that you're using, and then we move to the next one is on data presentation. Presenting data. So in presenting our data, okay, we have to go back to the purpose and why in your data. Okay, what is the purpose that you want to present it? Okay, so for examples, if you want to collect the, okay, if you want to compare, for example, the one that you propose with the one that you use as the comparisons. So how to present it, you have to superimpose, for example, or you have to put side by side. So that's how you go back to the purpose and why. Why is it the data? If, for examples, you want to look on the effect of um, certain dependent variables to independent variable, for example. So how to do that? So you must have um, the columns or the axis that relates to whatever the variables that you want to look at the correlation on. Okay, so based on presenting data, there are different types of presentations which you are all very aware of because you've gone through all the presenting data. So we have line graphs, we have bar graphs, pies. So know the type of graph that you want to use. Okay, usually is it bar chart or pie chart or line? So please take notes on that. Go back to why you want to present it. Okay, what do you want to show? Okay, so usually line graphs are ideal for presenting time-based data. Okay, so for example, like we have time series data. Okay, selalu ni kita pakai, we use line graphs. And then what about bars? Bar are excellent for forming groups. If you want to group it, okay, so group the data. So bars is good. And pies are ideal for calculating percentages. Okay, so usually if you want to calculate the percentages, we want to look at the household income, for example, the B40. And for example, I'm doing, I am the, saya panggil apa pengurus. Pengurus is coordinator, not coordinator, manager. The manager for APEL, UTM. APEL is accreditation of prior experiential learning. So what we did is every quarter, okay, every quarter, I have to present the data to MQA, Malaysian Qualification Agencies, about whatever the data that I have on the application of APEL. Okay, so APEL is used as the, with the APEL certificates, you can apply to continue your education in higher, in any IPTA or IPTS. Okay, so the purpose of APEL is that based on your experiential learning, but your academic qualification is not up to the requirement, so you can use the you can use APEL certificates. APEL certificates, we accredited whatever the experience that you have and equivalent it to the MQF level. We have T6 for undergraduates, T7 for masters, and inshallah next year it will launch, MQA will launch T8 equivalent to PhD. Okay, so in that, in reporting that data, so there are all many informations that MQA required us in terms of household income, B40 and 40 and T20, for example, and also races, okay, races, nak tengok races yang apply, and then age and so forth. So how do you present it? So based on this category, line or bars or pies, kita kena pilih lah which one suit to our data. Okay, for example here, this is one examples that I have from internet. So the example show is the growth in search engine marketing across multiple device platforms, including desktop, tablet, and mobile. So there are three types of a device platform: desktop, tablet, and mobile. And then from there, the survey is done to look at how much if you look here in percentage of indicated working days, okay, for across a regions including Europe, US, Canada, South America, Africa, Asia Pacific, rest of the world. Okay, so how to present your data? So usually we can separate the graphs, separate the graphs in terms of percentage of indicated working days and a region. Okay, so therefore we will have three graphs based on the device platforms. But as we can see here, the researcher combined them into one graph so that we can see the apa kita panggil ni, kita nampak we can see the difference, or the we can highlight what is actually the data will tells us more when we combine the graph. In the graph shows broken out into three separate graphs, but the presenter decided to consolidate into one graph. So how powerful it is, we can see the comparisons can be can clearly shown in terms of regions, in terms of the multiple device use, and in terms of trend, for example, and you can see the blue one, the trend, and the red one, the green one, across regions. So that a lot of stories can be told from this one significant graph. Okay, because in telling you about this separate this presentation of graphs, so we have the tendency to I mean students, students have the tendency to gives a lot of data and a lot of graphs, okay, separating each one of whatever finding that he or she has. Okay, whereas when we combine, when we know how to present our data, so it will be different story. The impact is different. So please study whatever the result, the graph that you have. So if there is a possibility of combining it to look at the difference, that will be great. Okay. Okay, so I think all of us are aware of the plotting and analysis tools. Either you can use Excel, MATLAB, and whatever the software available. Okay, but the guideline is always plot discrete points clearly. Okay, do not join points unless you have a continuous mathematical functions. And then to compare data, plot several lines on the same axis. We can have it superimposed, but please make sure you um, have a clear indications of the legend used. Because sometimes we tend to superimpose so many points also, therefore we cannot see the trend. Okay, so we cannot analyze the results properly. Okay, okay, ada soalan so far? Consider including error bars on all points. Okay, ada soalan so far kelas? Senyap je ni semua.
For me, okay, Doctor, so far.
What about others?
Doktor nak tanya sikit boleh tak?
Okay.
Nanti in this chapter, adakah kita akan masuk cara-cara untuk analisis sekali?
Cara-cara analisis, because it is very saya akan bagi general sahaja in terms of
Okay. Alright.
Okay. So in terms of class exercise, okay, can you all go to this link and get the data, and then I want you to share how you would like. Attendance dah
Saya dah.
Okay, kita tengok dekat data yang atas typical publishing time frame. So based on data, saya nak you all buat macam mana you all present. Okay, how you like to present it, and how do you explain it. Okay, kalau kita tengok data tu, the first column is on scientific journals. Okay, and the second column is time to publication, and then time to acceptance. Sikit je data dia. So how would you present it, and then how would you explain it? Kita bawa first part of the chapter 4 ni. Kita ada data dan kita dapat data. How do you want to present it, and how do we explain it? Then,
Doktor,
yeah.
Time to publication tu in term of months ke ataupun macam mana?
So usually yang ini 36 months.
36 months.
Sekejap. Time to publication, times to acceptance. No, days, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, ada yang cepat Ini saya dapat data ni, saya share je. Okay. Saya pun tak sure data.
Dia real lah, Doktor?
Real.
Oh, okay.
Semua ni
kaget lah.
Tapi scientific journal yang berbayar, saya rasa that's why dia very cepat accept.
Oh,
yang
plus one free je sah? Plus one free je?
Plus one bayar. Saya
student
saya tu student saya yang apa tu? Iraq, from Iraq she paid. Quite expensive.
Oh,
Saya rasa ni semua berbayar, yes.
okay.
So please share your data here. Present your data presentation here dekat Alert, and then apa yang you all boleh dapat explain kat situ. So, okay. Akhir. So, saya dapat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kita ada 5 orang je. So, I saw 6. So, Zulaikha ada tak? Dapat ke data?
Yes.
Dapat?
Dapat.
Okay. Padlet semua boleh masuk kan?
Saya boleh,
Boleh,
Dr. Boleh.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes.
I received your email. I have 2 tables.
Okay, so this one, the sample data. Right. Kenapa dia jadi macam ini ni? What happened to the data?
Excuse me, teacher. What should I do now?
Kenapa
Ada orang
data
tukar. Ada orang tukar.
Aduh.
Betul. I'm sorry. I try to copy sebenarnya. Lepas tu tiba-tiba dia jadi macam tu pula. Tapi nak back balik.
Dah saya masukkan balik kata.
Undo, tekan Ctrl Z.
Kalau boleh aduh.
Saya ada tak share dekat data ni. Inilah masalahnya kalau data.
Sorry.
Saya akan masukkan balik ke tak?
Masukkan balik kalau boleh. Saya tengah dia tak dekat saya simpan. Takut saya tak simpan.
Saya dah replace lah.
Dah replace lah. Okay, so Akhil, can you have the data? Okay.
I have 2 tables. Yes, this one of them.
We are talking about the typical publishing time frame of the journals, the scientific journals. So we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 journals, and then the second column gives us time to publications, and the third column is time to acceptance.
So what should I do with these fields of table?
The class activity is, so now assuming once you already design your research, okay, chapter 3 you have the research methodology, and then you
Yes,
set up
literature
your,
review. I have.
yeah, then you have your data. So assuming this is one of the data that you have, so the task that I assign you is how do you present the simple data and how do you explain the data based on the presentation, the data presentation. So how do you explain the data? Okay, we look at example previously here. Okay, this is how we present a data and
Yes.
can explain that. So the same things goes for the exercise. So, okay, just a simple exercise for you to look upon how to present and how to explain.
Okay.
But if I give you, I have lots of data, but it will be different story lah nanti. Okay, so just
Yeah.
this part, just to apa orang kata, to keep us rolling on this topic.
Doktor nak kena explain kat lah ni.
Just a very simple explanation sebab kita belum sebenarnya sampai pun lagi kat situ. Tapi selalunya kita ada data tu, kita just simple explanation. Okay, this is the first part. The first part when you have your data, okay, bila kita ada data, kita present, first part memang kita kena explain. Okay, explain is what students are good at. Okay, cakaplah ini relationship dengan ni, relationship dengan ni. Okay, selalunya students stop sampai situ sahaja. But there are more to it. Macam saya cakap tadi, kena ada comparison, kena ada significant of findings, kena ada performance measured and so forth. Okay, so now we are talking on the first part of the results and analysis. Okay. Okay, kita balik-balik. Dah ada yang buat? Kita tengok sekejap. Ada explanation tak? Siapa yang bagi saya ni? Zaini? Okay, Zaini present macam ini.
Lupa nak present. Jadi nanti saya buat 5 ayat.
Okay. Yang lain?
Tengah buat ayat doktor nak compare.
Okay, so now we are here. Okay, masih seorang lagi. Oh, susah juga sebenarnya nak present and explain Saya ingat 5-10 minit je siap ni. Okay. I'm still waiting. Maybe I can give another 5 minutes.
Okay, Doctor.
Okay. Okay, masih 2 lagi ni. Siapa yang bagi, yang ada apa ni? Data kat sini pula ni. Please put it in the Padlet class. Saya baru dapat 2 di sini, Amar and Zaini. Is it difficult to put your graph in Padlet class? Is there any difficulty?
For me just copy paste je. Dia nanti dia type. Tapi sebelum nak tampal tu dia bukan, saya tak copy daripada Excel, saya screenshot atau baru paste.
Oh, okay. So yang lain ni ada pula letak data kat sini ni. Siapa yang buat ni? Kalau Google Sheet boleh terus buat saya tak pernah buat kat Google Sheet ni sebenarnya. Siapa yang buat donut graph? Tapi bagus juga, saya nak dapat different style and then we can discuss. Kalau sama je, tak okey juga ni. Ni siapa punya ni? Tak boleh nak share. Ada seorang ada yang buat donut di sini. Donut chart ni. Okay, dah 5 minit dah. Ni siapa yang buat donut chart ni? Tak ada nama. You all pun lah nama. Okay, sini ada Ellen. May I know who did the Kill. So 2 more ladies. So I'm waiting from
Excuse me,
Anis.
teacher. It's just exercise, right?
Yes, this is only exercise.
Okay, that's good.
I'm waiting from Anis and Zulaika. It's only exercise, Akil, don't worry.
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
Zulaika dah, Anis? Okay, Anis. Anis dengan Zaini tak ada explanation ni. Okay. Okay, so as we can see, most of us gives bar chart, either horizontal or vertical. So Akil,
Excuse me, teacher. I just want to try something different. That's it.
okay, so what actually we want to look here based on the data? What do you want, what we want to know or what we want to tell readers? Okay, the one that read our reports or our thesis, okay? Ataupun maybe the conference paper, we want to present it to the conference paper. What actually are we going to tell to the reader?
The two
Maybe
fields, the
because
time of publication and time acceptance, right?
yes. So
For
these
each
are
one of the journals.
yes. So these are all the journals. Okay, usually when we send papers to these journals, they will take time. It will take times for our paper to be accepted. So okay,
Accepted.
first,
Yeah.
accepted, and then once it's accepted, then only it will be
Published.
Yes, published. Okay, so publish either online, and then you will receive the notification and so forth. So this is what we want to tell readers. So Akil, when you present your data using donut charts, what can you get from the information from here? Is it telling you something by using donut chart?
Yes, the big parts
Uh-huh.
need long time to accept and publish, right?
Mm-hmm. What about where are accepted, where are published? Any difference here? I cannot see the results on time to publication and time to acceptance. I don't know
Yes,
what
that's right. Yes,
yeah, what are you
just
yeah.
numbers, percent. Yeah.
So usually percentage when we have these donut charts, this will be on percentage. Okay, this is not on
So it
percentage.
is not suitable for this type of.
Yes, donut chart is
Okay.
not okay. Okay. So let us look
Okay.
at
Okay.
the other charts. Okay, most the others, the rest of your friends here, they plot the data using bar chart. Okay, so by using bar chart, what can we conclude here? I think either horizontal or verticals, it doesn't matter much. But as we can see, if we put it like here, we the time frame we can see it clearly rather than vertical. But still vertical pun boleh sebenarnya, vertical pun okay. Tapi kalau kita lihat kawan-kawan kita yang buat our friends who did the horizontal bar charts, it can be clearly shown to us, kan? How long each of the how long it takes for each of the journals to be first accepted and then published. Okay. So kalau kita tengok kat sini, yang ni pun boleh nampak sebenarnya yang Amal buat pun okay. So kita boleh nampak di sini jurnal yang paling lama sekali nak accept yang color kebanyakannya you all choose color soft accept kan. Okay, so mostly kata yang paling lama nak accepted adalah food, chemical and netcom. Okay, so mostly semua cakap macam itu, right? Okay. Yang difference adalah Allen. Kalau kita tengok Allen dia combine. Yang lain letak sebelah-sebelah. I mean side by side the publication, the acceptance and published. Okay. So kita boleh tengok banyak cerita yang kita boleh cerita. There are so many stories that we can tell. First we can look here the time for acceptance will of course take longer because kita boleh cerita lah because dia involves review maybe kalau jurnal yang panjang-panjang tu dia punya time frame untuk review tu response lama. There are so many possibilities or maybe they have more reviewers than the rest ke dan sebagainya. And then kita boleh cerita pula dari segi acceptance. Kalau kita tengok acceptance kebanyakan semua shorter sebab dia dah go through the publish time tu dia dah go through to the acceptance, so publish tu tak lama. Okay, sekarang kita tengok yang Alan punya. Maybe Alan can explain
Doctor.
why you combine this.
Okay, doctor. So for the one I did, actually the reason for me to combine is because I'm able to obtain an accumulated time from publication right up to acceptance.
Okay.
So in my explanation, doctor, I got write something like the net common, it takes the longest accumulated time to publish and be accepted. However, the publication time of netcom is still lesser than scientific world journal. So I can see the accumulated time for acceptance and publication, something like that.
Okay, that's also good. But then, Alan, I think the way to improvise the way you tell the story. I think it will be good if we put the acceptance in front. Can you adjust that? Boleh ke?
Put the acceptance coming in first, doctor.
Yeah. So that kita boleh nampak kan sebab because the first stage is the acceptance.
Oh no, the blue one is actually the publication, doctor. So the blue color indicates publication, orange is the acceptance.
Yeah, sepatutnya kita letak. I think it will be good if we put the acceptance, but then it's up to you. Acceptance first.
Okay, doctor. Okay, can.
And then publish. Okay. You have a good point also, Alan. It will be also a good point that you highlight just now. Yang lain ada nak tambah lagi regarding these results? Okay, mungkin kalau kita tengok dekat sini, we can do also comparison. Maknanya tadi kita nampak net dengan food dia lama, tapi kita boleh conclude that food dia punya acceptance lagi cepat lah. And then there are so many things that you can tell the stories here lah. Okay, good class. Thank you very much for participating in this exercise. So let us go to the next slide. Any question before I proceed with the next slide?
None from me, Doctor. I'm okay.
Yang lain? Anis, Zulaikha ada nak tambah?
No, Doctor. So far, okay.
Okay,
Ya,
semua.
betul.
Okay, so macam-macam cerita yang you boleh tambah tapi yang boleh add. But then the main point is we want to look the comparison lah. Mungkin kita boleh cerita juga, kebanyakannya semua cerita yang yang takes time. So what about the shortest? Mungkin ada yang interested on to identify what yang mana shortest. Okay, time mungkin dia ada nak tahu kan, bukan dia ada requirement, dia dah tak cukup masa ke kan, dia nak tahu cepat yang mana. So it's also helpful to share to the readers yang cepat punya proses. Okay, so let us move to the next slide. Okay, so this is on the getting your data, present your data and explain it. Okay, we go to the next one. Kalau saya yang ni saya tak. Okay, reporting your findings. Okay, the next one is reporting. Now that you have your data, you present. Now, how about how to report your findings? Most of the slides I get it from the reference that I shared here with you. Okay, in order to report your data, you have to bear in mind what you want to include. For research, decision about what data to include are important because once you start doing your experiment or doing your research or getting acquired the data, so you will come across so many data, okay? So many data, and sometimes you don't know which one to choose. Okay, decision about what data to include are important. Include what you need to support the points you need to make. So usually, to include the data you have to go back to your research questions. Okay, so earlier, okay, you learn about how to do research questions based on your research. Okay, go back to the research questions. So the data should answer the research questions identified earlier. Okay, and then always use past tense in describing results. Make your selection criteria explicit. Sometimes you said, I did a lot of experiment, so I want to share everything that I have. Not necessary, yeah? More details can be provided in appendix. Batuk pula. Here is some good advice from Evans and Gruber. Include enough data in an appendix to show how you collected it, what form it took, and how you treated it in the process of condensing it for presentation in the results chapter. Okay, jadi kalau if the examiner need to know more about the process of your data collections, they can always refer to the appendix. Okay. Okay, in reporting your data, you should have a focus. The major task of writing about our research involves working out how to make contextually grounded theoretical points that are viewed as a contribution by the relevant professional community of readers. Okay. As we all know that for research students, either MPhil or PhD, you are required to have something, okay, something new, something that you can contribute to the knowledge of your field. Okay, so therefore, always bear in mind with that so that you have a focus. So your thesis findings needs to contextually grounded based on your data So based on your data, you can always have a point in saying things or saying whatever the findings that you have, because you already have the data. Theoretical related to relevant theories, because when we have data, we have a pattern, and then usually the formation of that data always relate to theory. Okay, viewed as a contribution to knowledge, okay, as I said earlier, add something to the current body of research or theory, because nobody has done this part of data collection or whatever results that you have. So you have to highlight that, okay, this is what you have and how it contributes to the body of knowledge. These points must fit into a framework that makes a coherent story of your findings, because actually thesis is writing a story, okay, a research story. So okay, so that's why you have to, in the chapter 4, you have to fit into whatever the story that you start earlier. Any questions so far? Okay, now how you want to structure your chapter 4? Okay, selalunya in any chapter when you want to write, because we will discuss later in our next final class. Every chapter, it should start with an introduction. Chapter 1 ke chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and now your chapter 4. It should have an introduction outlining the chapter. Okay, so usually chapter results and discussion, sometimes students put everything in one chapter. Katakan chapter 4 tu semualah results dia. Katakan dia ada banyak